In 2016, a game called Firewatch took over the internet. Everyone and their grandma was playing this game and talking about how gorgeous it is. But what about the components beyond the visuals? I watched several playthroughs of this game when it came out, but I don't remember a single thing about it. All I remember is watching Jacksepticeye walk through a forest. I've been told that this game is incredible and that I need to play it, but the fact that I don't remember anything worries me. It implies that the game wasn't impactful enough to stick with me, despite everyone claiming otherwise. Don't get me wrong, I have a terrible memory, but games from that era usually left behind at least one or two semi-coherent memories. But Firewatch left me with nothing. Today, I'm going to be documenting my entire playthrough of Firewatch in the hopes of finally understanding why so many people sing its praises. The game begins in a way that I didn't really expect. You're walked through a text narrative that gives you the backstory of your character with some simple background ambiance. This only happens at the very start, so stay with me. You play as Henry, a man who falls in love with a woman named Julia. You can choose all sorts of options as you go through the backstory, like your first words to Julia while meeting at a bar. It seems as though she's a professor. Only worried she hurt your feelings, she asks if you want to split a cheeseburger. 1 week later, you are Julia's boyfriend.
Didn't know we were going to be playing a dating sim.
This is already better than Twilight.
These bits of story are interspliced with small segments of more traditional gameplay. This one shows Henry tossing a backpack into his truck in a parking garage before heading out on some kind of trip.
I was not expecting this interactive story explaining everything.
I was not expected some drunken charisma. Oh, sorry, wait, no, I need to be hip with the kids for viewership. Oh my god, it's that Sigma Riz.
I'm gonna f***ing kill
You, I will drive to your house and actually kill you this time. That is a real threat.
We get to make minor choices as Henry continues to date Julia, eventually moving in with her and getting a dog. They get married and talk about having kids someday. Present day Henry parks his car in the wilderness near a trail, tossing his pack on and heading into the woods. The next interactive story segment brings me to an interesting mechanic. In most games you can choose whether or not to be nice, but several of the options in this story force you to choose between two terrible options. For example, there's a night where Julia stays out really late bar hopping and she worries Henry. Your only options are to ignore her or to get mad at her. I'm more for the communication option. Unfortunately, that doesn't exist here. Henry hops off a rocky outcrop, making his way further into the woods. He finds a sign pointing towards the Two Forks Fire Lookout Tower. The interactive story describes more of Henry and Julia's life struggles. They want to have kids, but they can't find the time or resources. Julia is offered a job at Yale, but Henry doesn't want to move. You either have to convince her not to take the job or force her to commute back and forth a few times each semester and live apart. I don't like either of these options, but I felt that commuting was less harmful than stripping her of the opportunity in the first place. Eventually, Julia is sent home from her job on paid leave after having an episode. She started verbally mistreating coworkers and becoming emotionally unstable. Her memory is suffering. I chose to try and find a professional to help her, learning that Julia may be suffering from early onset dementia at age 41. We move back to the gameplay.
Oh, right. I forgot about that. So you're gonna have to...
Menu?
Is that?
I completely forgot about that.
Julia heads back to university, but she gets worse each and every day. After being sent home on permanent medical leave, she's moved into a full-time care facility to make sure she's getting the best treatment possible. But no matter what we as the player do, Henry will start to visit her less and less. He stops spending time with his friends, pushing them away and isolating himself, which is never a good idea. Henry sees an ad in the paper for a job, far away. A job at a Firewatch tower. Present Henry arrives at his new lookout, making his way up the stairs.
Let's explore, yes.
Oh no.
What are you doing in my swamp?
Jesus fucking Christ, of course.
Oh my god.
What is this? Oh my god.
Okay, take that with you. Take that with you. It's an important tool that'll probably help us later.
We'll set him right here, I'd say. So like...
Perfect.
How the hell did I do that?
You just threw him into the wall with enough strength that it just created a dent in the wall where he perfectly sits.
I'm gonna be so for real. I've never seen anyone do this before.
Ben has a certain set of skills.
After turning on the power, Henry gets a message over a nearby walkie-talkie. The person on the other side of the line introduces herself as Delilah. She's occupying another tower over the horizon. After some witty back and forth, we get ourselves a title card. I'm a big fan of this opening. I both like and dislike the fact that you cannot fully control Henry, but that changes throughout the rest of the game. You have a lot more control during the present, but most of the past is set in stone, depicting Henry as a not great person. I fully plan on making Henry talk to people instead of festering, and Delilah seems like a great option for that. Her introduction was perfect after a really emotionally heavy start. She immediately started having fun over the radio, meaning things won't exactly be boring out here. The next day, Delilah starts teaching Henry the basics of his job. They're quickly interrupted by some illegal fireworks going off in the distance. The current climate makes it really dangerous to be setting those off, so Delilah sends Henry out to put a stop to them.
Get going. You'll probably need a rope to get down the shale between you and the lake, if I remember right. There should be one in the supply box on the way. The code is 1234.
You've got to be kidding me.
Actually, that for all of them.
Oh my goodness.
Secure.
Shut up.
Henry uses his map and compass to find his way to the security box and get that rope. For some reason, you can't run while holding the map, and zooming in is an unstable mess, but fundamentally it works. Henry uses the rope to rappel down a cliff. It snaps, but thankfully his neck doesn't. This game really cleverly prevents you from exploring places you shouldn't yet by setting up the use of these ropes, but not giving you any more. As you explore, Henry can use his radio to talk to Delilah about his environment. She'll also chime in pretty frequently about whatever the heck is on her mind, creating some fun interactions between the characters. These radios are pretty helpful for wireless communication, but I personally prefer to take my calls using earbuds from this video's sponsor, Raycon. Raycon's everyday earbuds have quality that rivals some of the biggest names in premium audio, all for half the price. I started using their earbuds over 5 years ago. I upgraded to their latest model about a month ago, and they've been amazing. They have a 32-hour battery life as well as multi-point connectivity, letting you seamlessly pair with multiple devices at the same time. I have mine paired to both my phone and my desktop computer, letting me use them for both work and recreation. They even come in an assortment of different colors. There are tons of different options, meaning you can blend in with subtle colors or stand out with vibrant ones. I ended up going for a nature theme with green earbuds and a stone pattern protective case to perfectly match the vibe while protecting the earbuds. Not only do they look great, they support wireless charging. I don't even have to take the protective case off to get 90 minutes of battery in just 10 minutes of charging. I use my Raycons every day to listen to music and audiobooks, to take wireless calls, to play games online with friends, and even to edit my videos. I'm literally wearing them while recording this audio, and I'll be wearing them while editing this video. With the built-in active noise cancellation and awareness modes, I can choose whether to block out background noise or actively let it in so I know when someone's trying to get my attention. With Black Friday on the horizon, now is the perfect time to get an even better deal on top of their already amazing prices. Go to buyraycon.com/benagain today to get up to 30% off site-wide. That's right, you'll get up to 30% off everything on Raycon's website when you go to buyraycon.com/benagain. Henry finds an abandoned campsite full of an unhealthy amount of alcohol as well as some extra fireworks. He puts out the unattended fire, cleans the litter, then follows the path to the fireworks. Unfortunately for him, it appears that the two perpetrators have left their clothes behind. And their underwear. Even worse, they're blasting girly pop. Henry tells them to cut it out, but drunk teenagers are not exactly the most receptive crowd. Thankfully, the power of dangling their expensive boombox over the lake manages to get them to stop. Since the rope broke, Henry needs to find a new way back to his watchtower. While following a new path, Delilah confesses that she was fully drunk during their introduction and apologizes. Henry quickly learns that the only path back to his lookout is through an unstable-looking cave that people are not supposed to explore.
It looks like the path leads through the cave.
Back in the cave, huh? Man, I don't need to lose another lookout in there.
Another lookout?
They go in, they never come out.
Delilah is the perfect way to break tension in this game. She is incredible. The caves go further down, but they're behind a locked gate, the key to which has long since been lost. Henry climbs out of the cave, continuing to walk back to his lookout until he's suddenly blinded by a shadowy figure with a flashlight up on a cliff.
There's some guy out here giving me the creeps.
The creeps? Wait, he's looking at you? Is he doing anything else?
I don't think so.
Henry, there's something someone should have told you about this area.
What is it?
It's outside.
Come on.
The whole thing. And people come and go as they please. It's madness.
Yeah, okay. I get it.
I love this game. It's mostly been a walking simulator thus far, meaning it has 2 requirements. 1, a visually appealing environment, check, and 2, good writing, check. The dialogue is perfect and the voice actors absolutely kill it. The figure disappears and Henry gets back to his lookout, stumbling upon his typewriter sitting on the ground outside.
Well, my typewriter is on the ground, outside of my tower.
You right?
Yeah, look, the wind? No. How the hell
You should get inside.
Okay, but is the cutout still there?
Yeah, did the cutout do it?
Did they kidnap my son? Someone broke into the tower, tearing the place to shreds and stealing Henry's sheets. Delilah calls the crime in and asks Henry who he thinks could have done this. He says it might have been the 2 teenage girls at the lake, but they swam in the opposite direction, so I'm not so sure about that. For now, all they can do is move on. Henry cleans up what he can and heads to bed. The next morning, Delilah informs him that a storm last night knocked out the phone line they used to contact the Forest Service. Henry's job is to go check it out and see what the damage is. On the walk over, he opens up to Delilah about why he took this job. He talks about Julia, how she's sick, and how he's kind of running away even though he shouldn't. Apparently Julia's family hates him, all except her sister who actually gifted him that typewriter. Since he refused to go to therapy, she figured it'd help him out to write. When he arrives at the phone line, it quickly becomes apparent that this was no accident. The line was deliberately cut and there are dozens of empty beer cans up here. That's incredibly concerning, but Henry can balance the anxiety by picking up this little turtle friend.
What do I call it?
When you take
Looks
the
like
turtle.
Turt Reynolds.
If the alcohol near the cut line wasn't an indicator enough, the underwear reading "Go to Hell" with our cardboard son's face on it proves that these teenage girls did this. Delilah is pissed. This is how people die in the woods, without communication with the rest of the world. She wants Henry to scare them off by finding their camp and roughing it up. For now, all he can do is head back and look for a lead as he goes. Another one of the ways that this game blocks your path until later in the story is by placing this overgrown foliage in the way.
I've got an overgrown trail here,
Yeah, that'll happen.
so I'm screwed when it comes to getting past it.
Screwed until you clear it yourself, yeah.
You don't have the HM cut and get past.
Gotta teach it to the turtle. Turtwig.
On the way back, Henry finds a backpack suspended from a tree branch. Upon lowering it, he finds tons of climbing rope that can be used to traverse the map. The name tag on this bag, Brian Goodwin, matches that of someone Delilah knows. 3 years ago, a man named Ned Goodwin and his son Brian were stationed in the same lookout that Henry occupies. Brian was a great kid and a huge nerd. They abandoned their post one day without a word to Delilah and never came back. Henry rustles through the bag, finding a disposable camera with some photos left over. You can use it to take photos of all kinds of stuff throughout the game, but you only have 18. As he continues walking, Henry answers all of Delilah's questions about Julia, about her dementia and what it was like after they found out. It sounds like she's no longer in the care facility in Colorado, instead being moved to Australia to be with her family. I'm not sure why this is the case, especially since her sister moved out to Colorado to be with her. Down the pathway, Henry finds a large area that's completely fenced off.
Why would there be a fence out here?
Because sometimes hikers go ass over tea kettle when on a trail.
So the Forest Service would put up a big chain link fence?
A chain link fence.
This is one of my favorite parts of this game. We will be solving a mystery and they introduce many aspects of it using Delilah's ignorance of the clues. She had no idea there was a massive fence out here because she doesn't cover that area, and the fact that something so large is a complete mystery to her makes it feel a lot more ominous. For now, we need to focus on finding those vandals, so Henry moves on, finding a forked path. Okay, left or right? I don't respect you. No, I'm kidding. I'll do left.
What the
Delilah's having issues getting a repair person out to the state park where we're stationed to fix that line. She calls him a flapjack, which is an insult that will instantly become a part of my permanent vocabulary.
I don't even know how I would get in.
I have an idea.
It's really strange that that's out there, by the way.
It seems as though these vandals are as careless as ever. A gigantic plume of smoke is wisping up over top the mountains. That can only mean one thing, a fire. They either became arsonists or have set up another campfire, and either way, we need to get over there as quickly as possible. On the walk to the smoke, Delilah opens up more about the Goodwins. Ned was in the army, but his mother, the person taking care of Brian, passed away. He was placed in charge of taking care of his son as the only remaining family. Ned was off and clearly suffering from PTSD, while Brian was full of wonder and creativity. Henry locates the vandals' campsite, finding it scattered in empty beer cans and cheesy teen magazines, but hey, at least his bedsheets are back. It looks like they were the ones who broke into the lookout. Henry walks over to their tent, realizing that it's been completely destroyed. The vandals left a threatening note behind.
Do we want it read in a campy teenager voice?
Go ahead and make me want to kill myself, yeah.
Dear Psycho, I hope you're f***ing happy. we're leaving and we're going to find the police or whatever and tell them about how you creeped on us in the lake and then came and destroyed our campsite and all our stuff. Oh, and stealing panties is gross out. You're probably a mental axe murderer and are so going to jail. I hope it was worth being a jerk over some fireworks.
Well, at least they're alive.
They certainly think Henry did it, but this note actually has more to it. They had their underwear stolen, meaning there's a good chance that the phone line was cut by someone else. If their underwear was stolen, they wouldn't have been able to write that note on it. The next day, we start off with a cute interaction between Henry and Delilah. She's an artist like Julia and wants to draw what Henry looks like. We get to describe Henry's appearance, referencing a photograph on his desk as well as that monetizable drawing from earlier. Little interactions like this are perfect for developing these two characters. It also keeps me very entertained because I love their dry sense of humor. Henry finds an old hand-drawn map in his room, presumably the work of Brian Goodwin. It's entirely fantasy themed. From this point onwards, the game will skip large portions of time. We skip all the way to day 9, where the next plot point happens. Henry's enjoying a meal when Delilah calls in with bad news. 2 young girls have been reported as missing in the area, most likely the vandals Henry's been dealing with. Since Henry's probably the last one to have seen them, he tells Delilah to pass along the message that he's happy to be questioned by the authorities if it will help to find them. Delilah contemplates not saying anything to them, but Henry dissuades her. Those 2 girls could die if left out here alone. Delilah agrees, but she says she's going to keep it vague. We skip to day 15 when Henry wakes up in the middle of the night to a radio call from Julia. This obviously isn't possible, especially since Julia mentions that Delilah seems nice. On day 33, Delilah reveals that Henry was sleepwalking that night and he accidentally called her. They get to talking and Delilah explains why she took this job. She used to be with someone named Javier while she worked at the Wyoming Outdoor Leadership School. She was with him for 5 years and planned to marry him. She would bounce back and forth between work and her life with Javier. But one day, Javier's brother was killed in a workplace accident, and for some reason, Delilah couldn't bring herself to come home. Javier claimed that it was fine. Attending the funeral and taking care of his mother would be easier on his own. But that wasn't true, and he left her. Delilah lied about the whole situation, telling her sister that he cheated on her before taking this job. She lied about it for a decade and presumably only opened up to Henry because he's been so open about his own troubles. They both messed up, meaning Henry isn't alone. On day 64, Henry and Delilah witness the start of one of the biggest fires of the year. She gives Henry the honors of naming the fire, with Henry using her creative insult as the namesake, the Flapjack Fire. As they watch the fire, they get to talking about life, and then Delilah brings the conversation somewhere else.
I don't talk to the other lookouts as much as I talk to you. Not in the same way. I know it's probably been a while since you've connected with someone the way we have. I don't mean to get all heavy, but it's been really nice. I wish I was over there. It'd be nice to be near somebody. We could talk without these radios. We could,
Henry is married.
It'd be nice to be close to someone.
Shut the hell up, Delilah. The game transitions to day 76, but I feel like we have to talk about that first. Henry has made it abundantly clear that he is a married man running away from his troubles, and that he feels bad about his decision to do so. Talking to Delilah has made him more confident in going back to visit his wife in Australia after all of this was over. Yet Delilah takes the time to have this conversation with him. I know she doesn't outright say anything, but she clearly wants to spend time with him in a more romantic capacity, which is not okay. I chose to be radio silent for the remainder of that conversation, hoping that the only reason she took that plunge was because of her use of alcohol. Back to day 76, Henry is going fishing without a license to spice up his meal schedule, and Delilah's fine with it as long as he checks for tracks belonging to a reported problem bear nearby. But he doesn't get the chance. A notebook has been left on a rock by the lake with some concerning information on it.
What the? It's... Holy shit.
What's going on? You didn't actually find a bear, did you?
Someone has written down what we said to each other, have been saying.
That doesn't make any sense.
I don't talk to the other lookouts as much as I talk to you, not in the same way.
No way.
Henry hears someone nearby. He spots a radio on the ground, picking it up only to be knocked clean out from behind. He doesn't know who did it or why, but the clipboard is completely gone. We're currently halfway through the game, and the mystery plot I was promised is just now starting to seriously rear its head. Normally I wouldn't like how slowly paced something like this was, but the characters are so well written that I barely even noticed. Henry and Delilah were expertly developed during the first half of the game, and they were seeing plenty of minor clues. They were able to build a relationship that is used to push the narrative forward in a really interesting way. The only thing Henry recalls reading on the papers before they were stolen is the name Wapiti Station. There is no Wapiti Station, according to Delilah, but there is a Wapiti Meadow. Henry makes his way there, finding the chain link fence. There's a door around the corner, but it's securely locked.
Wait, okay, hear me out. What if you keep hitting it? What if after like 100 times it will just break?
Delilah claims there are some firefighters who have been doing a controlled burn nearby in an old scout camp. Henry makes his way there while Delilah calls around asking if anyone else has seen something strange. Henry wants her to call the authorities, but without proof, she refuses to do so. Henry finds 2 wrecked snowmobiles on the way to the camp, one of which has been ransacked for parts. I've been taking photos of evidence up until this point, and this is no exception. Henry finds the firefighters nowhere to be seen. They must have finished that controlled burn and moved along. They left behind a paper claiming that they're moving to a new location on behalf of Dr. Simmons at Wapiti Station. It seems as though there's a research station out there, most likely the fenced-off area, and the doctor is worried about wildfires reaching it. Delilah wants to know what they've been researching, with Henry suggesting that it may have been them. Why else would they find transcripts of their conversations strewn around at the lake? They decide Henry should make his way to the research station. He grabs a nearby axe, using it to cut a path to a recognizable area.
Okay, so let's assume we're being tailed. Or you are, at least. Where are you right now?
Just on my way back, in and out of trees in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
Do you see
nothing
anybody?
distinct around me.
No, definitely not.
Alright, so, tell me what you think of this. Did you just cough?
No. Did you just cough?
No.
There isn't any way someone, like another lookout, could be on this line, is there?
No. Not without tapping our radios. Get in your tower, shut the door. Don't leave, and don't use your radio. I'll call you. Understand? I will call you.
Henry listens to Delilah for the most part. He gets sick of waiting and calls her over and over again the next day.
Hello, sunshine. Sorry, went out for a little bit. What can I do you for?
You can do me for a trip out of here. I don't care if it's on horseback or a helicopter or in a canoe. Just get me out of here.
Henry, we have work left to do. Let's chat about what's bothering you and you'll feel better.
Are you serious?
Let's talk. Okay?
Okay.
By the way, I was wondering if your Flora of the Shoshone info poster was still up inside your tower. Have a look at it. Make sure it's in ship shape.
Okay, yeah, it's up. Why are you acting like this?
Do you see the tree in the top row, second from the left?
Sure. It's the,
No. You don't need to tell me, just, internalize it. It's a great tree. And there's an area called, that tree's name in your sector that maybe you should take a midday hike to.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I should go for a hike.
Henry, you idiot. I'm glad he eventually got the very obvious hint. He makes his way to the location in question where Delilah informs him that she changed the code on one of the lockboxes. Instead of 1234, it's 5678. Inside is a new and untapped radio. Now that they can freely communicate, they create a plan to get inside the research station. On the way there, Delilah makes a confession.
Hey, I just thought of something not great.
What is it?
I filed a report that said that neither of us ever talked to or saw those girls, the ones that
God damn it,
went missing
Delilah.
a few weeks back.
God damn it.
What? Why would you do that? I told you to say the minimum and just keep it vague.
I know, and I didn't. I just didn't want to be hassled.
And now someone probably has a transcript of that entire conversation.
And I've filed a report that's a blatant lie.
Oh, and those girls are still missing.
Yep.
Henry uses his axe to pry the door to the research station open, locating a clipboard that reveals Wapiti Station as a government research station. There are lots of devices scattered throughout the station, so I made sure to photograph them as much as possible.
Look, we're getting pictures of evidence, but that doesn't mean we have to ignore cinematography.
Exactly. Henry finds a soil grid, several unidentifiable contraptions, and a tent with some major clues. There are 3 cots in the tent and a tracking device. Everything else isn't concrete evidence. Using the tracker, Henry finds an odd device on the table next to a file folder with profiles covering Henry and Delilah. Henry gets worried because his file apparently has information on Julia that he did not pass along to Delilah, but I don't see anything. We have access to the entire report, and Julia is not mentioned once. Henry leaves the site with the bridge collapsing beneath him on the way out. He manages to stay safe, noticing that someone set fire to the station behind him. Henry runs. The next day, the tracking device known as the wave receiver begins to beep. Henry follows the signal, much to Delilah's dismay. He ends up finding a backpack with the wave receiver picking up the signal of an alarm. The pack has a key leading to the locked section of the cave from the very start of the game. He and Delilah try to decide what to do next.
It's hard to feel like you have the upper hand when you're standing in the dark in the middle of the woods.
Oh. Well, you're back in your tower. Maybe you need a drink too.
I'm not in my tower.
I am looking at a man standing in your lookout. And it's not you.
It is not me.
Oh my god, go.
I'm going.
Henry chops down a tree using it to cross a... Okay, never mind. Okay, there we go. He uses it to cross this gap. See, that right there is one of my only real issues with this game. Constantly, I've been experiencing physics glitches like this. Animations not activating, not being able to descend cliffs, and trying to interact with something only to be inexplicably pushed back by some mysterious force. It even happened when picking up that bag. When Henry gets back to his tower, he finds a tape player affixed to his door. It contains an out-of-context conversation between Henry and Delilah, painting them as the perpetrators behind the fire at the research facility. Delilah panics. On day 78, Henry is still trying to calm Delilah down. Apparently someone claiming to be Henry in Two Forks called a lookout tower in another sector early in the morning, claiming that Delilah knew what caused the Wapiti Meadow fire. This is bad. Whoever's framing them is being very thorough, and it's really getting to Delilah. She and Henry agree. They need to find out what's inside that cave. The key is their only clue. This is your final spoiler warning. If you have any interest in playing through Firewatch for yourself, consider picking up a copy wherever you can. If you just want to hear my final thoughts, please skip to the timestamp on screen. Remember those glitches I've been experiencing in this game? Look what happens as I try and use the key on this door. It's a complete mess. I finally got it to work, allowing Henry to move further in. The door is slammed shut behind him, locking him inside. He manages to find a back path out, with his only clue being this lone abandoned shoe. After escaping, Henry stumbles upon a cave decorated with fantasy designs, almost like a stone tower. This is clearly somewhere Brian Goodwin used to spend his time. His belongings are absolutely everywhere. Henry reports all of them back to Delilah, learning more about how nice of a kid Brian was. He was smart, kind, and an unapologetic nerd. There's a bag nearby with several climbing anchors that Henry can use to continue exploring the cave. After using the anchor to further lower himself into the cave, Henry stumbles upon a body. The owner of the shoe from before. Brian Goodwin. Henry takes a photo of the body as evidence before making his way back out. He tells Delilah, who's completely heartbroken. She blames herself. Children are not supposed to be out here, but she let it slide for Brian. So when Ned left his post, nobody thought to look for a little boy. The next day, Henry and Delilah pack up and await rescue. The fire is getting more and more out of control, with both the Flapjack fire and the station fire merging into one. Rescue helicopters are on their way. As they wait, the wave receiver starts going off again, with both agreeing that Henry should investigate. It might be the person who was recording them. The receiver takes Henry to an audio recording and instructions for him to climb the rope next to it. I'll play the tape for you now.
Yeah, hi, Henry. Hey, you better find this before it burns up. We've been causing each other a lot of headaches. Now I gotta go stake out a site that's as fit for living as the one you're about to find. You'll get it when you see it. You can't blame me for keeping an eye on you. Not after bumping into you back in May. Down by the cave, for sake. I've been up here for 3 years. I kept it cozy. Winters are harsh as hell, and I ran out of books. But I got that antenna rigged up, and Delilah, she's a record you don't gotta flip. I kinda get why Brian took to her. About a week ago, I stopped worrying about you finding anything out. And that's right when everything went house with you two. You guys don't know anything about having kids. All right, nobody knows nothing. It ain't Andy and Opie walking down a lake to fish every afternoon. It ain't Mayberry. But you gotta know I didn't kill him. All right, we were climbing. I was teaching him. Brian was uneducated in the way to do anything. He just didn't sink his anchor the right way. You know, I thought about going back, having to answer questions, and having to get him put in the ground, and I didn't see the point. Don't come looking for me. Sorry about your wife.
Ned Goodwin was using the government research facility's equipment to keep tabs on Henry and Delilah. The government isn't after them, and nobody thinks they started the fire. It was all a grief-stricken Ned trying to make sure nobody found out that his son died and he ran away instead of dealing with it. Ned claims it was all an accident, but Delilah doesn't believe him. She fully blames Brian's death on him. I personally can't say much. There is no way to know if Ned is telling the truth. Henry explores Ned's shelter, finding all kinds of evidence. Drafts of the fake reports, photos of Brian, the magazines that the girls left behind. Everything was because of Ned. I unfortunately used my last photo on the tape outside, leaving me with no way to document what I saw. Maybe I shouldn't have taken that photo of their raccoon. Henry leaves, making his way towards the evac point. A mourning and guilt-stricken Delilah directs him there. When the first helicopter lands nearby, Henry encourages her to leave. He doesn't want her to stay longer than she has to and get hurt, even if that means he won't get to meet her. Delilah departs and Henry continues his hike. He arrives at her tower, looking around and finding the drawing she made of him. He throws on her headset, talking to her from the trailhead.
Hello? Is anybody there?
Hi. Yeah, it's me. I'm back at the staging area near the trailhead. Hey, it shouldn't take long for the helicopter to reach you.
Okay.
There's a debrief in a situation like this. Lots of questions.
Shit. So, taking stock, we found out an old lookout killed his only son and decided to become a lonely hermit.
Yes.
And we prevented one fire?
Basically started another.
Okay, so that's a wash.
I'll have to figure out what I'm doing every summer from now on that isn't this.
You're not coming back?
No. And you'll have to... I don't know.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know what's next.
Tell you what, why don't you choose for me and I'll choose for you?
All right, sure. Maybe move to Santa Fe. Open a jade emporium with your sister.
I'd be trading cute ski bums for yoga retreat hippies, but maybe that's not all bad.
So what about me?
I think you should go to Julia, and then you can figure it out. Maybe put that typewriter to good use. Give me a sexy accent or something if you write about this.
Yeah.
You gotta go see her.
Yeah, sure.
Henry, Look, you came out to put your memories behind you, and they're still right there in front of you.
You're right. I mean, I think you're right.
Good.
When I get back, maybe I could,
We shouldn't focus on this summer. Next year will roll around, and then the year after that, and it's just, I don't know. My Aunt Judy called it a pause in the hallway of time.
Did your Aunt Judy smoke a lot of pot?
Yeah?
Well, you should try to take her advice, too.
Yeah, we'll see.
There's the helicopter.
They'll land back where you hiked up. Good luck, Henry.
And you too. Good luck.
No. Henry, you keep it for yourself, okay?
With their final exchange complete, the second helicopter lands and brings Henry to safety as the forest around him continues to burn. I understand why people like Firewatch. It's a great game. It's a short game at only 4 hours long, which is a bit conflicting for me since the game costs $20. Only you can decide if that amount of content is worth the price, but I would personally wait for it to go on sale. I really enjoyed this game. It's gorgeous, the acting is incredibly well done, the story is even better, and it kept me engaged enough that I was able to play through the entire thing in one sitting. The glitches were frustrating at times, but it wasn't anything game-ruining. The story is really what stands out to me. specifically regarding Henry. In my playthrough, this game was a story about a decent man who messed up and ran away from his problems because he didn't know what to do, before making a friend who could encourage him to go back and face those problems head on. But not everybody gets a playthrough like that. According to one of my friends who joined the recording session, you can make Henry a really bad person. They informed me that my playthrough was the only one they had seen that made Henry seem like a half-decent guy. And that truly scares me, but in a good way. That adds some serious replay value to the game if you want to see how different things can be, which I would highly recommend. This game is also really easy to 100% with only 10 achievements. I missed 2 on my playthrough, but will absolutely be going back to try some different options and complete the achievement list. Overall, I would highly recommend Firewatch. It's a game where you get to dictate the fate of 2 people who make a lot of mistakes in their past, and I really like that. I hope to see you all again. Have a great rest of your day. You may be wondering why the patron list is so long this time around, and that's because this is a list of every single patron who has ever supported my channel. I want to give every single one of you a sincere thank you, since I'll be shutting down both my Patreon and my Discord server on November 17th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm entering finals week and then my final semester at university very soon, and I'm reducing my responsibilities as much as I can to ensure that I can focus on finishing school without overstressing myself. I may bring them back in the future, but that won't be for some time. Don't worry about videos though, those will keep coming out every month or so like usual. Thank you all so much for the support. It means a lot.